Good morning. I received this from my good friend Don out in Idaho. He does a lot of research on history, and this is amazing. This is about Thomas Jefferson. You know who he is. He's the guy that's on the $2 bill if you have one. It says here that Thomas Jefferson was a very remarkable man who started learning very early in life and never stopped. At 5, he began studying under his cousin's tutor. At 9, studied Latin, Greek, and French. At 14, he studied classical literature and additional languages. At 16, he entered the College of William and Mary, also could write in Greek with one hand, while writing the same in Latin with the other. Now you try that. At 19, he studied law for 5 years, starting under George Wythe, who was a famous law instructor. At 23, started his own law practice. At 25, was elected to Virginia House of Burgesses. 31, wrote the widely circulated summary view of the rights of British America and retired from his law practice at 31. 32, Thomas Jefferson was a delegate to the Second Continental Congress. At age 33, he wrote the Declaration of Independence. At 33, he took 3 years to revise Virginia's legal code and wrote a public education bill and a statute for religious freedom. At 36, Thomas Jefferson was elected the second governor of Virginia, succeeding Patrick Henry. At 40, served in Congress for 2 years. At 41, he was the American minister to France and negotiated commercial treaties with European nations along with Ben Franklin and John Adams. At 46, Thomas Jefferson served as the first Secretary of State under George Washington. At 53, he served as Vice President and was elected President of the American Philosophical Society. At 55, drafted the Kentucky Resolutions and became the active head of the Republican Party. At 57, was elected the third President of the United States. At 60, obtained the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the nation's size. At 61, was elected to a second term as president. At 65, he retired to Monticello, and at 80, helped President Monroe shape the Monroe Doctrine. Thomas Jefferson, at 81, almost single-handedly created the University of Virginia and served as its first president. I wonder if they tore his statue down. At 83, Thomas Jefferson passed away on the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, along, by the way, with John Adams. Thomas Jefferson knew because he himself studied. He studied the previous failed attempts at government. He understood actual history, the nature of God. Let me repeat that. The nature of God, his laws, and the nature of man. And that happens to be way more than what most of us understand today. Jefferson really knew his stuff. A voice from the past to lead us in the future. John F. Kennedy held a dinner at the White House for a group of the brightest minds in the nation. And at that time, he made this statement: "This is perhaps the assembly of the most intelligence ever together at one time in the White House, with the exception of when Thomas Jefferson dined alone." You know, we get piled on by. Let me start this again. When we get piled upon one another in large cities, as in Europe, we shall become as corrupt as Europe. That was from Thomas Jefferson. Another quote: "The democracy will cease to exist when you take away from those who are willing to work and give to those who would not." The democracy will cease to exist when you take away from those who are willing to work and give to those who would not. Thomas Jefferson. He also said this: "It is incumbent on every generation to pay its own debts as it goes, a principle which, if acted on, would save one half the world from war." Thomas Jefferson. And he said this: "I predict future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government I predict the future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them." Whew. And then he said this: "My reading of history convinces me that most bad government results from too much government." Ronald Reagan said that too. So did Donald Trump, by the way. He says, "No free man shall ever be debarred the use of arms." That means nobody takes away our guns if we're free. If we're free. "The strongest reason for the people to retain the right to keep and bear arms is as a last resort, to protect themselves against tyranny in government." And Thomas Jefferson said this: "The trees of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." And he said this: "To compel a man to subsidize with his taxes the propagation of ideas which he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical." May I repeat that? To compel a man to subsidize with his taxes the propagation of ideas which he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical. And my friend says, "I wish you could get this out to every American." Well, I'm sharing it with Aggies, and that ought to do it. Here's a verse from Psalms. It says, "My flesh and my heart fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." Psalm 73:26. I want you to pray for Don and his family out in Idaho. Why he chose Idaho, I don't know. But he's raising a great family, all believers, down to all of his grandchildren. He's one of the most special men I've ever known. He's an Alabama boy. But I don't hold that against him. God bless you, Don, and yours. And God bless you. to spend your time visiting right here with me in my corner studio under the shadow of Kyle Field. Amen. Giggle.